then it slowly started developing, and I tried to transfer it to the bass and to my kind of music. And I never had the conviction that I would become a professional Arabic music player, in the sense that I would be very traditional or very authentic, because I knew that my background was different. And when I started working with Rima, who had a classical background, she wanted me to play different as well, so she invited me to do different things. But still, I found it very important to make a mixture with Arabic music that would not be superficial, because there is a lot of Oriental jazz, which is something I really don't like very much, both on the Oriental and on the jazz side, because for me it is a mix that is too superficial. It's like mixing pineapple juice with apple juice, and you put a straw in it and a nice, monkey on top, and then it has an Oriental sound. And to us that is not interesting. So I thought it would be more interesting to get to the roots of the music, to really study the essence of it on both sides. So for the Rima and later other Arabic musicians to study the Western music, and for me to study the origin of the Arabic music, and then find something that is new, like if you would crossbreed two plants, like a peach and an apple tree, and you create something, a new tree with it, instead of just mixing, the superficial thing. So then I decided to start a salon, Salon Yusur, to combine, to investigate how to further develop this, because in Europe or in Holland, there is some musicians with Arabic background, some with Moroccan background, some with Turkish background, but not so many. And we wanted to create a salon where musicians would meet from both sides, and those musicians would be able to interact and talk to each other, and also do concerts, and we do lectures. So every time we do Salon Yusur, we invite somebody special. Like the first one we had was with Ahmed Al-Khatib. He's an oud player from Palestine. He lives in Sweden. He is a very good player, Arabic player, but he also studied cello. So and he plays classical music. So for us it was very nice to talk to him, because he could really help us translate it to our own system. And so he gave a lecture about the Makam system, and then we had a nice dinner together, and then we had a concert. So this formula, I used it in a lot of different settings, with a lot of different musicians. One with a percussion player talking about... you want me to put it? Thank you. 1 second. Slippery because of the... one with a percussion player talking about all the Arabic rhythms and the old meters and the whole development of that. That was Youssef Abais. We talked with Rima Gshees, who's of course specializing in Morsha and in talking about the poetry and the importance of poetry in Arabic music. Then we also went to other countries. We invited a player from the Kutsi Erguner from Turkey to talk about Ottoman music. We talked to people from Iran talking about Persian music, from North Africa, Moroccan. We just had a meeting with Omar Matoui, who specializes in Aleutian Moroccan music. And we had from Algeria, Girdin Gshish, who's a violin player, talking about that part. So we try to cover the music from more or less former Persia, from Iran until North Africa, and talk about it and have debates about it. And that has become really interesting, but it has also showed us that it's such an enormous amount of information that the questions get more and bigger, and So basically that's how I started working. With Maarten, he can explain himself a little bit better, I think. I've been working with Maarten for 35 years, I think. Okay, I hear sound. Okay, okay.
Everything you say will be used again.
Okay, yeah. So, but Maarten got involved playing with Rima and also with Turkish music and with actually more Balkan kind of music. So, yeah, that's more or less introduction about what I do. Right? Mm-hmm. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. You?
Okay.
Shall I give you this?
Yeah, of course. This is for the live.
Yeah. This is going to be our running gag.
Yes.
No, I will speak in English because they don't have the headset. It's fine. So, yes, I've met Tony last year through Global Week for Syria, and we found common interest. So I will talk now about what I do in music and research, but that was by coincidence. So Hannibal invited us to play, to perform a concert. So we chose parts or compositions from each player, and that was so. For example, for our compositions, we didn't have, so we played them from the first time. It was like we used to play with each other for years. And now we are having another concert together, playing the maqam. And so from I didn't expect from a contrabass player coming from Netherlands to be knowledgeable in the maqam more than a lot of musicians here living in Lebanon. They are more interested in Western music. Actually, this is not the problem. The problem is that they don't know their own culture, and because of a lot of political and social reasons. For myself, and I will talk about why we established the Ma'zaf, which is here in meeting with Jusur. So the first thing I would like to say, I was raised in a musical house. From when I was kid, I was attracted to music through my family, and so immediately I wanted to play an instrument. I chose the qanun immediately, and I started to play without thinking. So the music I hear on sometimes on the radio, or the music I used to listen through my family, which are muwashshahat and adwar, but it was concentrated on the 20th century music. Later on, when I finished school, I decided to study musicology as a science, as in an academy. So I started to study with Dr. Abu Murad, Nida Abu Murad, in the Antonine University. Then I started to understand more my culture, my music. Yes, because yesterday we were talking with Monsieur Düring about the mother tongue and the father tongue. The mother tongue is when you hear or you express yourself through through your entourage or milieu, through the what you are living and what you are listening to in your life. The father tongue is when you start studying and making analysis and to know more about this system, or what you play, why you play this instead of this and this piece or and that, or etc. So that's what made me more and more interested to I still have a lot of questions about about my music and about my culture, and that's why we decided, Arija and I, to make an initiative which is called Mazaf. Mazaf is the old name of the Qanun in the Abbasid era. And we decided to make this initiative in order to for us to make more research and to try to find the answer of a lot of questions that we have, especially the question of our identity, our musical identity specifically, and another step to create a platform to try to attract people, especially students, to know more about their own culture, to know more about their own musical system, to practice, to at least to be attracted to their own instruments, the instruments that belong to their culture, not to start with piano and guitar, then there is Qanun and Oud, and they even don't know that it's called Oud. Sometimes they call it guitar. So yeah. So and the piano and the guitar, by the way, are derived from the Oud and the Qanun. It was not by coincidence. So yes, we started to work on this, and I have, so this is my my father tongue. This is my academic part and what we try to present, but there is the practical part, which is more efficient. You have to attract people through the practice, through nice music, and nice music here. It is a wide term. It could be wide. We can present a nice music or art music. It's better to call it art music, and without any offense, not to attack the people that are attracted more or they don't know their own culture, but to make a music that can attract them and make them more interested to know about their own culture. And so this is what we are trying to do in this in Mazaf today. So we can put something, music, make them listen to our work. So we can start with you, or
maybe Martin can tell a little bit about how
Martin,
we got involved in the.
Yeah, you can, but
introduce myself.
yes, of course.
Okay. How does this work?
Just or hold it.
Like so?
Yeah.
How does it look?
Very
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Looking the part is the most important thing. My name is Maarten Ornstein. I'm a saxophone and clarinet player. Just like Tony, I studied jazz music, but I also studied Western contemporary music, so modern composers from the 20th century, specifically on bass clarinet. And also, just like Tony, I always had the feeling there's maybe not something lacking, but there's got to be more to the instrument and the music that I do. So I studied Indian music with the great master Hari Prasad Chaurasia. And the good thing about Indian music is that basically all music originated in India. So if you start there, It gives you a pretty good sort of idea what's available and what's not. And I started working with Tony and Rima, I think something like 7 years ago, something like that. They had this project for a new album with incredibly difficult music. At least it was incredibly difficult for me. Also because if you're on the clarinet, it's a Western instrument and it's really not made to play Arabic music or Turkish music. So you have to overcome all kinds of difficulties that the instrument poses to you. And but I sort of stuck to it, and we're still playing and still developing. But I'm also it's nice to see all these European people work on Arabic music. Some European people work on African music, but I'm more interested in the other way around. So what's happening here with the musicians here, and how are they working on incorporating European music in their music? Because I think it should be a two-way street. It probably is a two-way street, but I'm interested in the efforts that the musicians here and the music students here, the efforts that they are making to sort of, let's say, update the music that is here. You know, it's a very long musical tradition, and with, if I may say so, very poor documentation. But every art form needs updating all the time, and I think we can learn a lot of stuff from each other, and that's why it's nice to be here. So, I'll leave it at that. Should I just?
I will answer.
I have no idea how to.
Would you like to put some music? Okay,
maybe we can put some music and take the music as an example of what, illustration of what we're doing.
Okay, so I can start. I just want to answer his question. So I will try to make a brief about the musical scene here, and the students, what are they interested in, and what are they specialized in. So from the beginnings of the 20th century, people started to before, in the second half of the 19th century, there was, if we can say, a cultural renaissance. It was based on 4 traditions: the Alipin Muwashah, the religious music from Egypt and from Bilad al-Sham, the popular music from Egypt, and the Ottoman music. So this Renaissance, or this, they started to establish a court music, or to revive the court music through mixing, or these traditions they were based on these traditions, these 4 traditions. So they established or re-established what's called by art music. The center was Cairo in that time, in the second half of the 19th century, because politically Egypt was taking its autonomy inside of the Ottoman Empire, and we were still under the Ottoman occupation. So what happened here, there were 2 directions, and it is always like this in any transformation in any culture. There will be 2 directions: the innovation from inside and the innovation from outside. What's the difference between these two directions? It's to try to create new tools, or to take the old tools of your music and try to build, or to create new forms, or new maybe phrases, to create something new in the tradition, coming from the tradition. This is the innovation from inside. So this was happening in the 19th century. In the beginning of the 20th century, people started to to import a lot of characteristics, a lot of forms, a lot of rhythms from the Western music and just put it in the Arabic music or Levantine music. So it started with theater, musical theater, and the second decade of the 20th century. So they started to import the opera, even the way of singing, the way of composition, etc. Then they started to reduce the intervals. So in our music we have a lot of intervals. We don't have 24 intervals per octave, we have more in the music. It's not only 24 quarters, equal quarters. So through the westernization, people started to feel that, oh, okay, we don't use the, for example, the lower B flat اللي هي نم عجم بالعربي السي بيمول الواطية. They started not to use the lower E half flat or the upper E half flat or the middle E half flat. They started to use only the middle one, etc. So this was because of the westernization and plus because of the recordings which appeared in 1903 in Egypt. People started to fix more the music, knowing that the improvisation is a very important characteristic in our music, and knowing that we have three types of improvisation in our music. So these characteristics started to disappear. And it influenced even the fabrication of some instruments, like my instrument, the qanun. They started to remove the metals representing the intervals I was talking about. So this started to evolve the westernization and arriving to now you have a generation that's not, I cannot say totally ignorant, but the new generation is even not really interested in their tradition, especially that what's presented more in our music today, in the musical scene, or what's presented more by the media is only the pop music. We don't have, there is no focus on the art music or on other music styles. So this is making the new generation more and more far. They feel that, okay, if I want to play art music, I have to go to classical European, but you have classical Arabic music. You have your own tradition, which is very rich. If you can, and we need a lot of researchers about our music. We have a lot of questions, and you said it is correct that we don't have a lot of references, but we do have a lot of manuscripts. And if we talk about the manuscripts from the Abbasid era and later on, and we are still having a lot of characteristics in our music that they were used or they were part of the musical system in the Abbasid era. So I think this is here it's very delicate how to attract the new generation to their own tradition, and how to convince them that your culture is not, or your music is not only the pop music or what you are listening to in the media and the TV, and it's not only the video clips, and we have art music.
To what you said.
Yes.
Wait. No. First, It's actually interesting because I understand that you see it as westernization and that influence, but actually the same thing happened in the West and in Europe, is that we sort of standardized our intonation after Johann Sebastian Bach, from the classical, and even later on, and it became more and more standard. But actually now there's a revival, already for quite some time, but into the Baroque music and the Renaissance music, and there we find that there's lots of different kind of intonations that we are reviving and using, like mid-tone tuning. Well, there's all kinds of way of tuning your instrument, and it comes much closer to the makam tuning often, and even when you leave the harmony and you go back to polyphony, then you find that the intonation becomes much more flexible and much more interesting. But also this was lost because of the piano. Basically, we should blame the piano. And if we leave out the piano, it becomes much more interesting. But always. Yes. So, but in general, I think this same search for identity and for oorspronkelijkheid, how do you say this? For authenticity is in the West as well. Like I now play a lot with people from Renaissance music and Baroque music, and I find them much more related to Arabic music than when I would play with people who play, for instance, Beethoven, Mozart, and Stravinsky. That music is completely like from the Middle Ages, Renaissance, Baroque. You have because we had, of course, the Andalusian time in Spain, there was a lot of interaction between the cultures, and a lot was going on, and then the whole, like you say, the violin and the bass and the guitar, everything sort of got from this mixture of influences at the time. And then it traveled, and it went two different ways, basically. The Western way went, okay, we like chords, and we're going to explore that into maximum possibilities. And the music from the Arabic background continued on the path of monophonie and developed forms from this. So we find that if we take our music back to an earlier time, that we can relate to it much easier. Maarten is having a duo with the theorbo player, which is the long lute with extremely long neck, and also the other instrument called fuela, also an instrument from that time, and they are now actually having a concert with Rimarchés where they mix these kinds of music. Actually, maybe as an example of musical example, I think if we do wat jullie ook spelen, Mugnati. Mugnati is maybe... No, not Mugnati, the andere. Ramani. Moshe Ramani did an interesting example to show how I try to mix counterpoint with the melody, and it works quite well. I'm quite happy about that way of interacting. Shall I play it?
Yes.
Maybe an idea? And... Is it connected?
Yes.
Ramani here. Well, I'll leave out my long intro. Can it be louder?
You can.
Yeah, this is the loudest here. You put it up somewhere?
Yes, I did just.
No, Arish is already doing it. Put louder. Ja. Ik was even blij dat de bas niet erover bij was. Maar is ook mooi. But it's 14, I think, or I'm trying to figure out the measure. It's like it's 14/4, but very slow. So. That's 13. So it's one of those motion and very slow 13. So what we try to do is to keep the original rhythm, to keep the original intonation, and to keep the original form, and not change any of that, but just add like a counterpoint bass line to it. Mm-hmm. I think the beamer is not on yet.
The beamer is on.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's working.
Okay, from my part, I will put a part. It's and from my project, what I try to compose, and so we'll talk about the ensemble as well. So this piece is called 19, which is a variation on a موشح for Sayyid Darwish, which is سلة فينا اللحظة هندية. The موشح of Sayyid Darwish is composed on a metric cycle with 17 beats. This piece is instrumental. First, it's not a موشح, it's not vocal. And the metric cycle is from 19, but the progression, the same progression of the موشح, it's having the same progression of the موشح, with variations, with improvisations, with ornamentations. And about the ensemble, so I try to, this is the ensemble having a violin and cello, قانون, oud, and a percussion. Some people ask me, so since I try to make always authentic music and music just presenting the main characteristics of our culture, so without mixing two musical languages. And we were talking about this yesterday, we were discussing this with Mr. During, about the presence of a violin and a cello, for example. Would it be still authentic or not? So the answer would be if the instrument, especially that the cello and the violin were derived from the rebab, which is an instrument, the old bow instrument used in our region, which was exported to Europe, and then it became the rebec, the vielle, viola, etc. Then we took it on the shape of the violin and the cello, which is a more developed instrument. So, but these instruments, they can play, they were integrated actually in our music. The violin from the 19th century, it replaced the rebab and the takhet, and the cello was introduced in the 20th century. And these instruments are able to present or to be part of the musical system that we have. So I will put this, piece, 19 it's called. I want to find it. So it's okay. So that's it. This is one of the examples. Yeah. So this is an example of what I try, and actually the violin player and the cello player, they are a part of they play in the national orchestra, the Sharq Arabiya, the Orchestra Sharq Arabiya, the Oriental Orchestra. And which is based on a totally different concept than this concept. The orchestras, in general, they are they don't have a lot of improvisation. The musicians are not allowed to ornamentate and not to improvise at all. Unless there's the improvisation for the first violin or the first clarinet or etc. But even there's the improvisation, the taqsim, the traditional improvisation in our music, it has some rules. It's related to the metric, the poetry metrics. So it's not only any type of improvised phrase or could be called taqsim. So these guys, they worked on their skills, and they learned and they worked on it, and they wanted to be part of a different style. So this is here. It is part of how it's a little bit changing, but there's still the general direction is towards the orchestra and the westernization, without knowing the original roots and modes and etc. and the old rhythms.
Yeah. Well, in a way, with the Western orchestra, it's slightly similar, especially until recently, like until 10 years ago, is that also the musicians in the orchestra have no clue what they play. Actually, they know where the notes are and they know how to play it, but they don't know anything about harmony or a structure. I mean, or very little. Let's say very little. Nowadays, the classical musicians are trained in a much better way, and they are able to understand harmony much better. I think the music became so complicated over the years that the musicians in the orchestra became more like reproduction machines than real, like somebody that adds a personal voice to the sound. But again, if you go back to the early music, with Mike Ventros, the theorbo player that Martin is working with, he plays from what they call figured bass. So he doesn't have a written out part, but he has a bass line, and he figures the chords out basically.
He has numbers.
Yeah, the numbers are like the liggingen, the different. So I think there is a similar thing that a lot of classical trained musicians, like when we play with them, like the older ones, they have no clue. They think jazz is something magic because we know all these, we can improvise. But improvisation is not something free. It's something you have to learn. It's like a language, and we learned this language, jazz, for a long time, and it took us a long time. But with this, you had to learn harmony, chords, melodies, everything, and that's an enormous. I mean, sometimes we don't realize how much we know until we play with a classical musician, and we realize, oh yeah, 251, or Moldur 4, no idea. But nowadays it's getting better, and I think this hopefully is the same in the Oriental music or in the Arabic music. Is that people become aware, and it's almost like a development, like I don't want to say revolution, but with a growing interest for identity in the world, we realize that we have to also investigate our own roots much better and develop it from there. So we become more aware of it. And like your organization and in other countries also, you find more and more organizations working on identity. And the challenge is not to become too rigid, and that because an identity is a development that went over the years through cultures, through wars, through love, through everything that happened, and identity developed. And this is interesting to research, but at the same time we want to continue. So like you are trying to, or you are doing, is using your background and looking forward, keeping a direction forward. I think that is the most important thing in developing. And I think we are in an interesting time, a challenging time, politically, socially, everything. But at the same time, I think music suddenly matters again. Music is part of our identity. Music is part of the solution. Art is in general becoming a part of the solution. So I think this is the way we should go to develop. It's a bit of a long answer, but
I can sort of relate to. Well, I got one.
You got your own.
Just adding to what Tony was saying, I think that because he was talking about Mike Ventros, the theorbo player. You all know what a theorbo is. It's like a oud, but it has extra strings that are 1.5 meter long for bass, and it has frets. So it's a Baroque instrument that was developed in Spain, but it was developed from the oud. And we have been talking a lot about all the different tunings that they did in the 15th and 16th century, and how that is making a revival now. But I think also if you see young classical musicians, many classical musicians that are trained in Germany and in France and in Holland and stuff, they don't play like the older guys that play in the orchestra. They're much more interested in developing modern techniques, including techniques that would allow them to play the Arabic music, or to allow them to play country and Western or Indian music. So it's really a different generation now, and they have a very, very different attitude towards playing music, because they're not focused on playing Stravinsky in an orchestra or playing Beethoven or Strauss in an orchestra, but they're much more focused on what can I do with my instrument in music in general. It's a much broader question. So I think that's a very, very, very good development that we should really encourage. And as we are from Holland, because you were talking about cultural identity, the good thing is that our queen, we have a queen in Holland. She's from we still have a queen. She's from Argentina, and she had to do a speech a couple of years ago, and she said in this speech, there is no such thing as Dutch identity. Meaning, we in Holland, we don't have an identity. So everybody was like very angry with her. But actually, she has a point, because seriously, in our country, we always had people coming in from France and from Germany and stuff. We took refugees back in the 15th century. We took all the French Protestants. We took them in when they were prosecuted in France, and we had the water come in. So there's always so much going on in terms of populations moving through. That is our identity. No. The Dutch identity is working with all these different peoples and styles and art forms and stuff. It's not like in Germany where they have this is our music and we developed it. It's a very different country.
Lebanon is quite the same way, right?
Yeah, I guess they're.
You mean similar to Netherlands?
Yes.
Actually, no. It's different, because Lebanon is part of the Levant, which is so Lebanon is in the middle between Syria and Palestine. Which is sharing, these countries are sharing the same cultural history. So we don't have, from the west, we have the sea. So actually our culture was, of course, there was a lot of invaders and occupations since 1,000 years. But actually our culture sorry, we have specific characteristics in the Levantine music which we share in Lebanon, Palestine, Syria, and even in Egypt with Egyptian music. It's there is a different dialect, but we have a lot of common characteristics through the history between the Levantine and the Egyptian music. So yeah, it's quite a little bit different.
But trade, was it important?
What?
Trade, was it important here?
Trade, yes, but okay. So Lebanon, it's on the border. If you go more to the middle, so like Damascus, for example, or Baghdad, or they are stronger.
Yeah, that's like what we said about Germany.
Yeah. So.
Same thing.
But, so of course the borders are more into interaction with with other cultures, but we still we are making researches about these, and we are finding that we have our characteristics, and especially in Aleppo they have a very strong character and characteristics of their own music. I think the time is up. Maybe we have to. Yes, if you have any questions, and if no, we have a cigarette.
Please, no questions. You have to smoke.
Anyone has a question? Oh, yes.
العربي طبعا يقول
Okay.
But you can translate for us.
Yeah, I can.
It would be interesting to have this. It's like the VN, right? I mean, it's like the UN. The United Nations of Music. But yeah, I've never had that, so I want to hear that. Test 1, 2, 3. Okay.
اولا يعطيكم العافيه على الموضوع القيم الرائع جميل جدا. كثير استمتعنا. بس هو في شيء
من نهار الحفلة عم بتصفر.
هلا هو الموضوع بس اللي حكيتوا فيه موضوع كأنه التزاوج الشرقي الغربي. أنا طبعا كثير أحب أن أقول شرقي، كثير شو أحب أنه أحكي عن شرقية الموسيقى وليس عن عربية الموسيقى بمعناها. عشان ما أقول عربي شوي يعني ما بعرفه، كأنه التانيين ما هيك في غبن شوي في الموضوع، لأنه ما بعرف أحس آخر من عملوا بما هو جاد في الموضوع اللي حكيته فيه انت بالاخص يعني العربي، لانه في ناس قبل العرب اشتغلوا بهذا الموضوع. انا كثير مرات انا احس انه يعني ولو نحن مو بموضوع تاريخيه الالات الموسيقيه، يعني انا ما عندي ايمان انه الكمان انه والد الكمان او ام الكمان رباب، لا. تسميته ليش ما صار في كل العالم رباب الكمان كمنجي. في بدايه نظريه ناري في على المستحكات في ميزوبوتاميا انه كان له 3 اوتار من زمان عم يمشي اكور معه، يعني قبل ما يخلق الهارموني، قبل ما يخلق البزق القديم. البزق تعرف وترين دائما في طنين ماشي مع بعض وصوتين مع بعض. يعني موضوع هيك كثير تركيز. انا اعشق الموسيقى العربيه، انا ماني ضد الموسيقى العربيه واعشق، ولكن هيك التركيز كثير على معنات اللغه الموسيقى العربيه والاسلوب، وكانه يعني في شيء اهم واعمق من هذا الموضوع كثيرا. انا بتصور ما هذا رايي. الموضوع الثاني طبعا انا اشتغلت مع الموسيقيين الكبار بيناتهم مع استاذ توني ومع استاذ مارتن، اشتغلت معهم بهولندا وانا تفاجات. انا سالتهم قلت له انتم متاكدين انتم هولنديين يعني ولا انتم من الشرق؟ لانه الروح التون عم بيأدوا بسلاسه يعني رائعه. انا كثير انبسطت ومثل ما حكيت استاذ غساني بالوهله الاولى اول ما عزفت حسيت وكانه انا عم بشتغل معهم من عشرات السنين، يعني ما حسيت عم يترجم يا استاذ مارتن؟ لا مارتن لانه ما عم يترجم له. مبين اليوم كلياتنا شحناتنا.
For me it's fine. For me it's fine. It's fine.
كمان طبعا تدوي على كلام اللي قاله استاذ غسان انه بالفعل العمل مع الناس المهتمين امثال توني وامثال مارتن واحد يحس انه يعرف يعني وكانه في معرفه قديمه، يعني انه في شيء. انا سؤالي هون في سؤال بس موجه للاثنين الخبراء الموسيقيين كان توني ولا مارتن، انه في الموسيقى الاوروبيه الغربيه يعني هل من المعقول ما كان في ربع تون؟ يعني سؤال الآلات يعني وبعدين إذا كان في من إيمت عجب انفصلوا عن هذا الموضوع؟ إذا كان في هالموضوع بس فقط أنا حبيت أنا أدخل المداخلة. شكرا لكم، شيء جميل جدا.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, well, first of all, you have to excuse me for being
quite ignorant about a lot of the Arabic culture. So there's a lot I don't know. You have to realize that my entry to the Middle East was the music of Rimarches, was the music of Kulthum, was the music of Fairuz, and slowly I'm developing into getting to know more, like your music that we've heard and we've worked together with, but also realizing traveling to Morocco and finding that it's a mer à boire, as we say in French. It's there's so much that I'm only at the beginning of it, you know, and so I don't know much about it, so I can definitely not talk about that other those other forms of music. I even don't really dare to talk about Arabic music, but I love it so much that I want to promote it as much as I can. But to answer your question, I think that is quite a clear moment in history. At the moment, we played different kind of tunings until Johann Sebastian Bach. Johann Sebastian Bach was the first one to compose, more or less, I think, for what is called wol-temperiertes klavier, is whole-tempered piano, keyboard. And he found out that when the tuning was so equal, tempered, that he could go to all these different keys. And that became the start of a development in Western music, which developed into Stravinsky, into Schoenberg, into Webern, into Beethoven and everything. So developing music that was based on a tempered tuning. But before that, if you listen to good Renaissance music, if you listen to like good, you know, but like authentic music that we try to play, like the organs that we know it from organs, the organs that were in the old churches, they are tuned differently. They are tuned in mid-tone, so the keys are quite different. I don't think we've ever had in the Western music a form of quarter tones as it was in the Middle East and in the Arabic music. So formalized, it was never formalized. It was we were intonating, we were singing, playing in certain intonations, but that was locally based and based in certain points of history. And now the musicians who play Renaissance, they know, okay, if we play music from Italy, I should intonate it a little bit like this. If I play music from that era, I have to play it like this. But in Arabic music, that is what was most interesting to me, is that there is an organization of quarter tones, and quarter tones is like all, as I understand, much too limited, like micro-tuning, let's call it micro-tuning. That gives so much more expression. And for us as jazz musicians, we have something what we call the blue note, which is like we like to bend the notes, and in blues they do it as well, but it's not formalized. It's sort of like, it's sort of a feeling. And with the Arabic music, I found out that it helps me so much to add nuance, like detail in my music, because I can use these other intonation forms. And I think for Martin that's the same thing. It's like we win an enormous amount of expression.
We will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just adding a little bit to what Tony said, we will eventually get a lot more means of expression, because it's really not all that easy to play all the micro tunings and to play them as you want, especially not on some instruments. But the point I want to make is that the reference to Bach is good, because at that point the Western music shifted its focus. It shifted its focus from polyphony and rhythm to harmony. Harmony became the central issue and the central thing in Western music, and the big thing that was to be developed over the next 300 years. Everything was about harmony and how far you could take harmony until it became atonal. You know, and basically that whole process was completed in the 20s of the last century with Arnold Schoenberg and Stockhausen. And after that, basically we didn't know what to do with our music, because we did everything. We had exhausted the harmony. There was nothing more that we could conquer in that. So the Western music, it sort of imploded and went in all kinds of different directions. You know, you get stuff like Philip Glass doing minimal music, and you get people writing very, very, very simple, almost childish stuff, and you have people that still continue the atonal path by not only going further than harmony, but also that each note has a designated duration, a designated dynamic, a designated everything, which we call serial music, which is what Pierre Boulez did. But basically, you see now that the music in the West, it has like maybe 150 different directions. You know, everything is happening at the same time. And that's also because the Western composers are so much looking for inspiration, and not just the composers, but also the musicians. And I guess that is also one of the reasons why we are here today. So, you know, because we have exhausted what we did. I think we have to go sound check.
Yeah.
For the concert.
Yeah.
UN headset.
ما راح أطول كثير، بس يبدو إنه الحاجة ضرورية من زمان، وهالحاجة أخذت تتطور بهال 50-60 سنة الأخيرة. كثير ناس اجوا قبلنا قبلنا حاولوا يفكروا بالموسيقى الغربية اللي عم يسمعوا بالأوركسترا، والموسيقى الشرقية اللي عم يسمعوا بعفوية وبفطرية وبلحنية سحرية معينة. فكروا فيه إنه كيف ممكن يصير استفادة من هالتجارب البشرية الإنسانية في الموسيقى. فالناس حاولوا كثير، وإنه أنتم تجربتكم، أنا اليوم مبسوط كثير لأنه هذا أنا كمان مؤمن فيه، إنه العالم بحاجة في هالأيام إلى موسيقى جديدة بعد تجربة 150 شكل من التجارب والتأليفات كذا، بحاجة إلى شيء جديد يعبر، لأنه هون كانوا وصلوا إلى حائط مسدود، إيقاعات خلصوا، ماجور مينور فككوا مشاكل، هارموني بوليفوني تونال أتونال كل شيء، ما تركوا شيء إلا جربوا. بس لسه العالم في شيء ثاني بده شيء يدور على شيء جديد. هالشيء الجديد أنا خطر بالي متجه بهالاتجاه من سنين طويلة، هو الاستفادة من السحر الموجود في الموسيقى الشرقية، وهي تتوضح في الارتجالات أكثر، وفي القطع العادية وفي المقامات وفي الأجناس. هالأمور الأربع المسافات الرباعية، ما بسميها أربعة رباعية ميكروتونات، وتحرك هالدرجات وبعدم ثبات الدرجة اللي فيها أربعة ما يشبه أربعة، وتحول هالذبذبات الدرجة من انتقاله عدم ثباته مع مسافات أخرى عم تخلق مجالات أجناس موسيقية حسب المفهوم عنا، أجناس موسيقية شرقية حديثة جديدة، ومنه ممكن يطلع أمور جديدة. هالأمور الجديدة في الأبحاث اللي عم تعملوا شيء رائع، وأنا واحد منكم اللي عم نجرب توجه بشكل آخر. التفكير إنه الاستفادة من السحر في الموسيقى الشرقية، وخاصة في الحالات الارتجالية وتحرك الدرجة الموسيقية في تونات ميكروتونات، في كومات صغيرة من مكان لمكان، وكيف بتجمعوا هالمسافات حتى يعمل في النهاية وقت اللي بده يوقف وقفة اللي اسمها الطرب، بسموه بالعربي الطرب، هو تجمع هالأحاسيس الناعمة الصغيرة بالموتيفات الصغيرة إيقاعيا متنوع ومسافات متنوعة، يطب في النهاية على التونيك، يوقف تونيك يعمل طرب في الموسيقى المشرقية اللي بنعرفها العربية الطرب. ففي أسرار كثيرة وضروري البحث عنها. حتى الآن عم يصير درس كويس، لكن الدخول في عمق هالمسافات الشرقية وعدم ثباتها والأجناس، تدخلاتها مع بعض وعلاقاتها مع بعض، اللي ممكن يخلق بوليفوني، اللي ممكن يخلق هارموني غير طبيعي، لأنه الطبيعي معروف شلون في الفيزياء، بس في هارمونيات غير طبيعية. كل هالأمور بده يوصلنا إلى موسيقى جديدة، والعالم بحاجة لموسيقى جديدة. بس السؤال الصعب الثاني إنه هل نظام العولمة اللي ما عم تعطي أهمية للثقافة بعمق، الثقافة والأمور الحضارية الثقافية بعمق، ما عم تعطي أهمية، هل الأنظمة العولمية راح توقف وتسند هذه التجارب في الأبحاث في الموسيقى الجديدة في العالم؟ شكرا. ويعطيكم العافية على أبحاثكم. اليوم أول مرة عم بسمع كثير شغلات جميلة، وأتمنى أسمع المزيد أكثر إن شاء الله.
Thank you. Can you excuse us because we have to go to the subject? We would love to hear the other lectures.
Yeah,
but
of course. Thank you.
Yes.
So thank you for being with us. And the first panel is done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now
That was nice.
we can have like